Hello, everybody out there listening who cares about nerdy things. Welcome to our, I guess you could say, second bold attempt at podcast format for this channel.
Legend of Nan, yo.
Yeah, so what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Power Rangers! Well, I guess it's just a timely thing, you know? It's, why not kind of unpack all this, this stuff going on with the Rangers, because there's this movie coming out that's, you know, built off of the original series, and in a way it feels like a long time coming.
I mean, we've kind of been waiting for it for a minute, but we did get the nice little, I guess, palette wetter. With the little short that they did.
Yeah, right.
So, like, we have a little bit of introduction. I think that's what really opened the door for this new
I suppose
movie.
you're right. They kind of did
prove that there's still a market for.
So then what do you think? I mean, actually, that was probably one of my last questions, but you tend to do that where you, like, anticipate the questions a lot. But, well, what did you think about that short film? And do you think it's, like, responsible for this?
Absolutely. Movie? I think that this short film showed that not only is there still a market for Power Rangers, but now that the original audience for the Power Rangers are adults, they want to see a bit more mature, like, content and a bit more up to date, like, action.
Yeah, I like to use the word grounded because I just feel like that's what I've wanted from this whole thing almost since the beginning. It's just a little bit more of a grounded approach to the Power Rangers. You know, it's like there's something about the property. Like, it is a great idea, but it just never really felt like they did it justice for the concept.
They bullshitted their way. Power Rangers is one of those funny kind of things, kind of like Frozen, where it sort of just pops up at the right time to catch the right audience. Like, it was completely ripped off of whatever Japanese show.
Right.
Like,
well, I can even give you some of the names of those things too.
Word.
Yeah, we'll come back to that later.
Word. They made it on a super low budget. They didn't pay their actors anything, and they made it super cheesy.
Right.
And it showed.
Right.
But it just so happened that the concept was enough to latch on to young minds. I remember just catching it randomly on TV, and I had no idea what I was looking at, and no idea what we were getting into on this journey, but it just turned out to be dope.
Right. It certainly did. And also, I think, like, it capitalized on a lot of things that were really popular in the 90s, like superheroes, metal, you know, dinosaurs with Jurassic Park. It came out the same year as Jurassic Park.
The concept of, like, Voltron in real life.
Mecha stuff, it was kind of starting to, like, kind of penetrate, I think, the market in America. So we've already kind of touched upon a lot of things. I do have some questions, though, and we can just sort of riff off of there.
You got some questions?
I do have a few questions, and
What's your
I guess
questions, brother?
Well, it's just, you know, I feel like I'm just done my research. I guess also enjoyed some of the research because it's fun to watch, like, the old show a bit. It's entertaining despite the fact that it's really low quality.
Word. But I think that's, like, also a lot of its appeal. That's
part of the charm.
Exactly. Part of the charm.
So to give
But now that I'm glad that they're moving away from that.
Exactly. And then, like, they've spent, like, I think it's like the budget for this new one's $140 million. So I mean, it got the full superhero movie treatment, and we'll come back to the movie. So basically, you know, the footage that you touched upon that it was spliced with, that I think I didn't realize that until, you know, my adulthood, it was called Super Sentai. That was the name of the stuff, and there was a bunch of shows, and that was, like, just kind of a big thing in Japan at the time. And yeah, like you said, I mean, it was part of what reduced the budget costs, was just by splicing a lot of the action footage, mostly the action footage and, like, Rangers in action, with those shows from Japan. Hence a lot of the dubbing, the poor dubbing, and all of that stuff.
Which also added to the charm.
Yeah, I mean, it was like live action anime almost.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess we could also talk a little bit later about, like, the Guyver connection, because I feel like there's, like, something there with the new movie with the suit. It just looks a little bit more.
Which one came out? Did the Power Rangers come out, or Guyver?
I think because Guyver, the anime, I think, was from the 80s, but the movie was, I think, like 1990 maybe. So it might have just preceded it by just a tiny bit.
Okay.
I mean, I could fact check that too. But here's my first question. But do you think that any of the original cast members are going to actually appear in this movie?
I'd be well.
Do you even want them to? Is also
This is the thing. I think that a lot of the original cast members were very upset with the way that they were treated or mistreated in their case. So they wouldn't want to necessarily be like associated with it. Shy of Tommy. And the thing is, Tommy didn't want to be a part, apparently, this is on some hearsay shit,
Right.
but apparently didn't want to be a part of the short film because it was too violent, and he like is a very strong advocate for keeping it very kid friendly.
Keeping it PG.
But this new version seems to bridge the gap between
Right.
like extra violent,
The old and the new.
Exactly, the old and new, a la the new Star Trek. It's
Yeah,
kind of going down that vein.
Even
it
Star
seems.
Wars is now PG-13. You know, like
Word.
since Revenge of the Sith, all of them have, or at least the last three.
Word.
Yeah.
But even movies in general, I think, are moving towards a more realistic take on whatever they're trying to portray. So
right.
it would be interesting to see Tommy do an appearance, which
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I would applaud if he came in there.
if he, like,
But
popped
he's the
on
only
screen.
one who I could really see.
Well,
come.
he just also seems to be the most invested in the franchise.
Absolutely.
Like the only one who's still kind of like he did the superpower beatdowns, which were awesome.
Word.
Like Ryu, I think, and then one of them was Scorpion.
Yeah.
I mean, it has both Green Ranger and White Ranger, and he's also done probably the most appearances after the original run
Yeah, he
in
does
the
the
other
Comic-Con
shows.
tour
Well,
type
he's
thing.
been in like when they do like the I guess you can call them the event shows, like when they have like all the Red Rangers, and then like he'll be in that
Word.
one, and then they had like another one recently. And I mean, I gotta say, I YouTubed it, and it was like pretty awesome. and it's like all of all of the cast, or like people from all the cast, and like he's Green Ranger again, but now like the suit looks dope.
Word.
You know, like it
I
doesn't
mean,
look
that's the
crappy
thing.
anymore.
I'm really ignorant to the newer iterations of it and the newer reimaginings.
Well, it's
So-
like almost every year they have a new
exactly
spin-off, so it's almost
Ninja
like
Force.
it's a little too
Thunder.
frequent for me. I would be okay with some cameos. I don't think that they're gonna do it though. I think Tommy, like we said, he's like, or like Jason David Frank, that's his real name. Like he's clearly like the most invested. Yes, he does like he still kind of is a Power Ranger, you know?
Word.
And I guess like I can't imagine like what role they would play unless they're like just some like street sweeper, or like the guy at the juice bar or something like that. Because they tried that in this new Ghostbusters, and I honestly think it was, again, one of their huge mistakes was like not to incorporate the original cast into like this new story. But here, I mean, it wouldn't make sense because like there's no real such thing as canon in Power Rangers, kind of.
Yeah, they kind of flip flop all the time.
Yeah, even if you look at like all the ones where Tommy's guest starred, he's like been all these different Rangers that he's been. So it's like, so he has every morpher. Didn't he give up being one? So it's like, there's no continuity. Schmontinuity, obviously. But I mean, if like Jason like popped up, or like Billy or something, like what the originals, maybe they could play their teachers or something like that. That would be kind of
that would be cool. Yeah.
So I mean, like, I guess we're both agreed.
Word.
There's a place for them there, but like I don't need it. And I think in a way also this movie wants to distance itself a little bit from, because the tone is so much different. It already seems that it's like, going for a more grounded approach, like not to be like overtly cheesy. I'm sure there's going to be some cheese in it, but your hopes and fears for the new film.
I'm scared it's gonna go down the route of Transformers, where they can throw out they can film just enough good footage to throw together a good trailer, but the actual meat of it won't be there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my biggest fear with this movie.
I'm looking at the runtime. I'm trying to find the runtime of the movie. 2 hours and 4 minutes.
God damn.
Wow. So maybe there is some meat on the bone with this thing.
Yeah.
They shot it on the Red Epic Dragon, like the Red Cam. That's awesome. I mean, and you just mentioned trailers. I mean, like, I gotta give it to them. The trailer campaign has been really good.
It has.
Like, one of the better campaigns I've seen,
Since the poo.
Yeah, maybe. And, like, just in general, like, since, like, the last several big movies I've seen, like, this is a good one. The posters are awesome.
Yeah.
There's some posters, like, that I would, like, hang up in the house,
Word.
So, I mean, the movie, I agree, the movie looks good, but that's probably my biggest fear as well, is that it's going to be all candy floss and no real substance. I mean, how deep can it go, really? But I think that's what it could be. That's where it could be good.
I mean, yeah, it can go pretty deep. I mean, look at all the things that we were complaining about the original. Like, it had no real
depth.
Yeah, depth to it. They didn't explain anything. They had no real stakes. Like,
yeah.
It seemed like every time the monster came down, destroyed some stuff, the Power Rangers would come defeat them, and then we'd hear nothing about the aftermath of it. So,
and there's also no, like, military or, like, police force in Angel Grove.
Right.
It's like, what's really going on here, guys?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it feels like they can just address those type of things, and it would be like a success just off that.
And there's also, like, the stuff that they show in the trailers is that, like, there seems to be some cool interpersonal dynamics with like the, and it's like even like how like it looks like Jason and Kimberly are like an item in this one, and that's like very taboo because it's always been Tommy and Kimberly, and then so maybe that's kind of setting up a plot point for the a sequel, a triangle. But like then the fact that they're all like kind of like it's sort of got like that. What's that movie? The one in the detention on the weekend, Breakfast Club. And it seems like that. Like they're just like a bunch of screw up kids who like kind of are like they actually are teenagers with attitude instead of just saying that they're teenagers with attitude.
Exactly. See, and that was another thing. Why do they need to be teenagers with attitude? I guess like it's supposed to be appealing to young kids, but at this point it's not going to really fly.
Yeah. Like you better have like Jason smoking some weed or something.
I need these kids to be like
be a real teenager, not like a cardboard cutout of a teenager. And like that, I think people will identify with more. And this movie is PG-13, so it's like, or at least it looks like it. I don't even know if it's rated yet, but I mean, like it looks like it's gonna have some pretty strong violence, even though they're gonna be fighting, rock monsters and whatever else.